his divine glory. I am encouraged by her bravery, her faith, and her obedience. Her story is filled with affliction, loss, death, hunger, and uncertainty. And I know many of you are thinking right now that you can relate. But sometimes God allows us to experience those disappointments in that someone or something, because he knew if we didn't, you wouldn't seek him for what you really needed. Sometimes your life is cluttered with things, people, and stuff that consume you that you can't see clearly. So sometimes you have to, Pastor preached about a month or two ago about shedding or pruning, the pruning process. Sometimes you have to shed things from your life. Sometimes you have to shed people from your life. Sometimes you have to shed, you just got to get rid of some stuff. And so my life was full of stuff. And it was full of people that didn't need to be in my life. And I had to, God made me accept my life for what it really was. And I had to acknowledge some things about my life and how wrong it was, and I was going in the wrong direction. See, I was choosing my own path. And so sometimes I get in my own way. So sometimes when you're in that leadership role, you think you're supposed to fix everything. And God didn't intend for me to fix everything. And so sometimes he tells you to be still and know that I am. Know that I am who I say that I am. And so sometimes you endure that great pain. And when you get tired of going through that cycle of defeat over and over and over again, and realize it's your responsibility and it's what you did, it's not what God did, but God allowed you to go through that. Because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have sought him out. I wouldn't have prayed to him to change my life. You know, and sometimes we expect more from God, but we don't do what we're supposed to do. We want God to give us something, but we want it right now, but we don't want to work toward it. So as I think about Ruth, I think about the pain that Ruth had to endure. She had so many reasons to give up and to quit. And I think some of us in here today can say, I got reasons to quit. I got reasons to give up. However, if you look at Ruth, she did not allow her past to hold her back. But she believed that there was life still to be lived. And she moved forward in that confidence. Adversity sometimes brings the opportunity to introduce us to ourselves in a whole new way. Back in September, I had to go speak at a leadership conference in Greensboro. And I met an 11-year-old, and she was the CEO of her own company. African-American female, CEO of her own company. And she made hair bows because she said every time she come home, all her hair would be all over her head, hair bows would fall out, so they close on both sides. But anyway, the bottom line is she's the CEO of her company at 11 years old. And it's Gabby Bowes, and she's from South Carolina. She lives in Columbia, South Carolina. You can look it up. And so she stood up in front of a bunch of educators, a bunch of adult professionals, telling us about all the adversities that she's been through in her life. And I said, oh, Lord, she had more adversity than me at 11. But one thing that stuck out to me, and she said, every time somebody tells me no, she said, I'm okay with that. Because no just means next to me. So, however, sometimes our adversity and discouragement is brought on by our own disobedience. Please know that in your moments of disappointments or adversity, that is where your God-given purpose will begin. But only after you surrender control to God. It's never our plans, it's always his. Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. There are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. Now let's go back to Ruth. Keep in mind that Ruth was a Moabite woman, and she was now moving to Judah as a foreigner, not knowing what to expect, but she was committed to Naomi, ultimately to God. She accepted her new assignment. She accepted her new assignment. And she was walking in expectation. Remember, she was a foreigner. She didn't know what to expect, but she believed God, and she trusted God. And we're going to see what God did for her in the end. But I believe how we walk through our assignment of refinement. That's what I'm going to call it. This is my assignment of refinement. May determine your next assignment. How you walk today will determine where God will allow you to go tomorrow. Romans 8:18 says, for I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is going to be revealed to us. In this verse, Paul, the author, gives us a word of wisdom and comfort about walking through hard things. While it may seem our present circumstances are unfair, ridiculous, and even wrong, there's a perspective of a coming glory. when we go through difficult situations, our natural instinct tends to be to flee to the familiar. So that happened to me back in 2000 when Jamal passed. I was in Winston-Salem at Parkland High School. And so when Jamal passed, I was like, I'm going home. I got to go home to my mom and my daddy. I'm going home. And so that was what was familiar to me because I couldn't handle the adversity. And so we automatically want to go back to what's familiar to us. But desperate situations will either lead us to a greater dependence on God or they can cause us to detour away from God. Amen. In Ruth 1 verse 8, Naomi tried to convince Orpah and Ruth to flee to the familiar. She said to each of you to go back to your mother's home. May the Lord show faithful love to you as you have shown to the dead and to me. Ruth refuses to leave Naomi. She fully accepted this new assignment. And she began to have this dramatic dialogue with Naomi. But Ruth replied, don't ask me to leave you and turn back. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die. And there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us. So are you picking up on that tone right there? Of this conversation? Her words were passionate, they were dramatic and desperate. Somewhere along that journey, the game changed. Just maybe God has stirred something so big inside of Ruth, she can't bear the thought of seeing it through to completion. So my question to you today, what makes you desperate? Will it take a discouraging diagnosis from the doctor to make you desperate enough to make major changes? Will it be that failed marriage or that failed relationship for you to become desperate enough to put forth the effort you know it will take? Will it take you watching someone else live out your dream to make you desperate enough to pursue it with all your might? So the day I accepted that something had to change in my life, I started questioning myself. I started saying, God, are you sure? I'm thinking, I'm a principal. I'm not supposed to. Are you sure? Am I qualified? And I kept trying to talk myself out of it. And so if you ever in the car with me, even though you're not, on my way to work, I drive an hour, but I'm having a worship experience in my car because I got to get there. I got to get my mind there before I walk in that place. Amen. Because sometimes the devil will meet you at the door. So I got to intentionally get myself in a good place. And so as I was questioning, I said, am I desperate enough to become the woman who follows God through the assignment of refinement? Knowing that as I do this, I'm going to lose some people along the way. But am I really qualified to do this, God? Is this really what you want from me? And I was listening to Tasha Cobb. And Tasha Cobb at that moment was talking before one of her songs. And she said to me, she was talking to me. She said, God said he don't need your resume. He just needs your gift. It doesn't matter about your college degrees. It doesn't matter what you are right now. I just need your yes. I just need you to be a willing vessel and I'll be And that hit me like a ton of bricks. At that moment, the game changed. Amen. At that moment, the game changed. So as I prepare now to take my seat, I want you to know that God wants to do through your life and in your circumstances. But will you be faithful here so he can get you there? When we learn to accept God's will for our lives, the game changes. While in Judah, God worked out an amazing plan for a man named Boaz, and that's a different sermon, ladies. Boaz to take Ruth as his wife, give her a child, and provide her and Naomi with more. So even in the midst of Ruth and Naomi's awful affliction, God still had a plan to take care of them. So you have to read further in Ruth. So the teacher in me is giving you a homework assignment. So see, after Boaz purchased the land and acquired Ruth's hand in marriage, they became pregnant with a son. This son was named Obed, who later became the father of Jesse, who later became the father of David, as we now know in the direct family line of Jesus Christ. How awesome to see how the braveness and commitment of a young woman will later meet a man that would help to bring the family lines of Jesus Christ into fruition. God also brought back joy to Naomi as she lovingly helped to take care of Obed. How awesome is our God that he can take such a dark and lonely season for Naomi and Ruth and turn it into joy, love, and prosperity. Never underestimate the power of your decision, your commitment, humility, and your integrity. Even through your pain, there is purpose. I tell the students all the time that there's purpose in your pain. God sometimes is trying to birth a new ministry in your pain. If you hadn't gone through that, you wouldn't have this. Everything you went through or going through was and is part of God's purpose and plan to bring you here. So don't complain about where you've been through, because it took all of that to get you here. He will not let you show up at your destination until you've been through your journey. I remember I got all these plans on where I was supposed to do and where I was supposed to go. I was going to be a college coach. I was going to do this. But God keeps throwing a wrench in my plan. The game changes every time I go through something. And so I remember being on that plane, Angela, when I was getting ready to go to Jamaica. I was sitting there and the pilot come on the intercom. I was wondering what was taking us so long to take off. And he comes on the intercom and he says, our flight plans have changed. But there was nothing I could do about it. I couldn't get off the plane. So sometimes God will change the plans in your life and there's nothing that you can do about it. And sometimes you got to take a detour to get to your destination. How many of you know that there's plans in that detour too? There's plans in that detour. So as I accept this new assignment in my life, I want to say this to you all before I take my seat. There's a mantra that I say to myself every day. I say it every day before I start my day. And if you come and look at my desk, it's sitting on my desk. And I say, I am loved, called, and chosen. I am rich in every way. And I am generous on every occasion. I am anointed, appointed, enabled by the power of God that works mightily within me. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. No enemy scheme against me shall succeed. I